Hello, everyone. Welcome into the View House Centennial, and time for an Xfinity Monday Live, and there's no one better to break down all that's going on in football. There's a lot going on in football and college, pro and college is what I mean. But we're going to start with pro. We've got Super Bowl 50 champion Ryan Harris in the house, and, you know, we say Super Bowl 50, and we're just waiting for this Broncos team to get into the dance for the first time since Super Bowl 50. Had their chance against the Chargers, obviously didn't capitalize on it. John Franklin Myers after the game said, you know, having 3 to win 1 felt a lot better than 2 to win 1, but now we got 2 to win 1. What's your level of concern, confidence going into after that Chargers game?
A high level of excitement. I mean, you have an opportunity to go against one of the best offenses in the entire NFL. And Joe Burrow has 7 straight games with 250 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Never been done. So you did blow an opportunity to win your way in against the Chargers. However, you get some confidence if you can win your way in against one of the best offenses in the Cincinnati Bengals.
When the Bengals right now are hot. I mean, it's not necessarily a team you want to face. Everybody keeps saying nobody wants to see the Bengals even in the postseason. We know the Broncos aren't going to be afraid. But what do you think the mentality is going into a game where the pressure's on?
You have to have the mentality that you are going to do more. It doesn't matter what happens in the game, we have more. It doesn't matter if there's a turnover, we have more. And you really have to get an excellent performance from the defensive line. This is a huge Zach Allen game, Nick Bonito game. If those two can come away with 2 sacks each, I think it's going to be a successful night for the Broncos. And conversely, if you allow Joe Burrow to stand in the pocket and wait for Jamar Chase to get 90 yards downfield, what it seems like sometimes, it's going to be a long night.
Now, do you see Vance Joseph making those kind of changes? I'm going to kind of steal this because you were on the radio before with Dave Logan, dishing out some good game plans, and you talked about, you know, doing something different.
Yes.
You think Vance is going to go in and do something different or stick to what's worked?
I think you start with seeing if your front four can get some pressure without having to bring blitzers, and if you can do that, excellent. But great defenses that I would go against in the NFL, teams like Bill Belichick defenses and all those, they're going to overload a side. So typically you want to do it to where the quarterback sees it. So you put Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, and Nick Bonito to one side, put anybody else on that other side, but you crash that right side of the offense. You're making Joe Burrow move, and then throw it. That's when you're going to be the most successful.
Cincinnati's defense, not necessarily their strong suit. Broncos offense has been playing well. How much pressure is on Bo Nix and this offense to really make a statement in this one?
It's a ton of pressure because, one, you're on the road, and Cincinnati is loud. Remember now, it's pretty close to Kentucky, right? So they get loud in that stadium. But number 2, I mean, Trey Hendrickson has been performing well at defensive end, led the NFL in sacks for a while. And more than anything, you need to develop a run game. 7 of the 10 calls on the scoring drive against the Chargers were runs, and they ended with 18 for the game. You got to call run after run after run if you're the Broncos. You really want to limit the opportunity for the Bengals to have the football, and if the Broncos can do that, it's going to be a fun night. And again, a ton of confidence on that flight back. You're thinking, we beat the best offense in the NFL. We can take on the Chiefs. We can take on the Chiefs twice if we have to and beat them twice.
When we talk about, like, abandoning the run, if there was an obvious answer, we wouldn't always be asking this. This is not just the Broncos in a game. We see it happen all the time. Why do teams just, it seems like it's working, and then they just stop doing it?
Well, a lot of us, when we know something's successful, we try and get a little smart, right? Oh, I had a great Monday. Well, I'm going to do something different this Monday. Well, no, you got to be better at it. And I think a lot of times, especially with Sean Payton, he has such a tremendous offensive mind that he can see the passing play. He sees the defense, and he thinks pass first. But the formula for success in the NFL is to run the ball early and often. If you do that, the passing game opens up and everything else. But you don't want to be in a world where you have Bo Nix throwing 40 times a game. That's not sustainable. And even the Chiefs run the ball often more than they throw it. So take a page from Andy Reid's book if you have to. Maybe run the ball on the other side of the play sheet, like where the passes are. But Sean Payton knows how to win. And now this is about the process with this team and calling the right plays and getting the right players in there to win.
Next test for this young team certainly coming up. So happy we got Ryan Harris in the house tonight, breaking this all down for us.
1st and 10, ball spotted at the 2. Jeremiah Love gets the carry, running left, has a hole. He's across the 10, needs a block at his own 20. Now he's down the sideline. It's a foot race across midfield. 30, 20, 10, 5. You gotta be kidding me. It's a touchdown. 98 yards for Jeremiah Love.
All right, well, welcome back into Xfinity Monday Live. I'll tell you what, that happened pretty early in the game, but that's when I was like, it's over.
Yeah.
This game is over. I felt like I already knew, but I still had to stay tuned. You, of course, though, you were there. You were calling this game on the radio. And what was so special about that game, that kicked off the first ever 12-team college football playoff. What was the atmosphere like, Ryan?
It was absolutely insane. It started with snow, too, and it even snowed a little bit during the game, so the Golden Dome was there behind the stadium in the lights, and the snow's coming down. There's Christmas carolers all around campus, kids around campus. It was really phenomenal. And I believe it was the greatest three-day run in football television history. I mean, you start Friday Night Football. Everybody loves that.
Yeah.
Then you got 3 college games Saturday, 2 programs. I had trouble remembering what day it was during the weekend, but a tremendous opportunity. Great for the schools that got to host those home games. Ton of money being made by those schools hosting those home games that the players don't get, but a phenomenal situation, and having that 12-team playoff and allowing so many teams to get involved in the playoffs early. It might have beaten the March Madness kind of weekend. That's how much fun it was.
It was unbelievable. But, of course, the fallout has since been a lot of blowouts on this first round. People feeling like maybe it should be, you should pick the 12 teams differently. Where do you fall now after seeing this first round on the 12-team playoff?
Well, I'm with people, and you know, Romy, I'm a little bit bigger. So I say, like, take the average weight of teams, and that's going to help place them on top of wins. Even Indiana against Notre Dame, I was walking pregame, and they were smaller, noticeably smaller than Notre Dame. SMU, noticeably smaller than Penn State. So when these smaller schools have good records, you need to go to the average weight of the roster. I think that's a new stat we need to save from some of those blowouts. So maybe a bit biased, as I mentioned, but you gotta, in college football, there's no way to describe to people how much the size differential really makes a difference. And that was shown in those first playoff games.
That's really interesting take. It will be interesting to see what changes, if any, they do make next year. Of course, you are headed to the Sugar Bowl. You got an NFL game to call before that. The busiest man in show business. How do you like your team's chances against Georgia?
Well, it's it's most beatable Georgia team. Now, Beck was just announced he's not going to play. That's the starting quarterback for Georgia. However, Gunnar Stockton, the quarterback that came in and helped win the SEC championship, he'll have an opportunity. But Notre Dame's defense is one of the best in the college football landscape. Riley Leonard's one of the best quarterbacks in the college football landscape. Really solidified that he's the guy for Notre Dame moving forward. So they got the right quarterback. They got an unbelievable defense. It's going to be fun. It's going to be late down there in New Orleans. And I'm gonna give me a couple of, beignets, 2 or 20 before the game. You know.
You better. You got to eat. You don't go to New Orleans and not eat well.
Can't happen.
Absolutely.
Against the law.
It's exciting. We can't wait for that next round. We got a lot more coming up here on Xfinity Monday Live.
Let's get things back down to the View House Centennial. Romy Bean hanging out with the always superbly dressed Ryan Harris tonight.
All right, Michael, you are correct. He is always the best, always superb, Ryan Harris. And it's time now for the People Want to Know. People Want to Know brought to you by Common Spirit, official healthcare partner of the Denver Broncos and champions for the communities we serve. It is the holiday season. Sarah wants to know, what's your favorite Christmas tradition?
Singing I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. It's the greatest Christmas song there is. I also like the Hanukkah song by Adam Sandler, but I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas might be the most creative and excellent song there is, so I sing it at least once a Christmas.
Only a hippopotamus will do. I happen to know those lyrics, and I don't know why. That is it. Do you sing it to your kids?
Sing it, whether the kids are there or not. It's a great song to sing. But they know the song, and then also sweet potato pie is a big thing at the Harris household.
I was just going to say, what's the must-have on the Harris sweet potato pie?
Got to just have it. Just have the sweet potato pie. You don't need anything else. You can eat it for breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's a full meal.
That's your go-to meal.
Singing hippopotamus, I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, and eating sweet potato pie.
I love it. Well, that is great. Well, that was the People Want to Know, brought to you by Common Spirit. We're going to take a break, and on the other side, we are going to talk about Christmas gifts, lineman style. We'll be back after this. And 'tis the season now where quarterbacks gift their linemen fantastic gifts. And speaking of the Bengals, because the Broncos are going to play them, Joe Burrow got his linemen something interesting.
They wanted guns. And I was like, I don't know about guns, guys. And so I was in the weapon mindset, and I was like, what's a cool weapon? And samurai swords, I think, are pretty dang cool.
Okay, sure, samurai swords. I feel like it is the onus of the quarterback to get good gifts for their linemen.
Yeah.
What are some of the best gifts you've gotten?
Back in the day, Matt Schaub got us the 70-inch TV before it was the thing, No Hattori Hanzo samurai swords, but Arian Foster gave Segways. Peyton Manning was actually ahead of the curve more than any other quarterback. He gave us drones in 2015, and we were like, Peyton, we don't even think we can fly these. We don't need clearance. Who do we talk to? So he was ahead of the curve. But the best part of the NFL, when you get to this part of the season, and if you're going to the playoffs, there's like a $500 minimum on the gifts. You can take them from the rookies if they got a gift you like. So it's a lot of fun, and it's something that's unique, right? You don't get to do that at a lot of workplaces, and everybody has memories from those times of the white elephant gifts and things like that.
I love it. I wish the show wasn't ending because I want to know about some of these gifts. But Ryan, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us so much. Hello, everyone. Thanks for logging on to CBSColorado.com. Time now for a few extra minutes with Super Bowl 50 champion Ryan Harris. I'm so glad we have got a seasoned Super Bowl champion in the house to talk about this. The Broncos got 2 games left. Win one and you're in. There's no doubt that there's pressure, but a good team handles that pressure. So what are you looking for from this Broncos team in terms of how they handle this?
Number 1, red zone touchdowns. Number 2, run the football. That's offensively. And then defensively, you got to make the plays for 4 quarters. People forget the Broncos are the 3rd youngest team in the NFL, and especially on defense, how I see that play out is those 3rd and particularly 4th quarter runs that happen because there's a lack of focus. So it's attention to detail for 4 quarters and beyond. Because if you get to overtime, you want to win overtime.
Yes. All right, so then let me ask you, everything you've seen to this point from this team, are you confident they can do that?
I'm confident they can. Whether or not they're able to execute at a high level for that long, especially against the Bengals, who have one of the best offenses in the history of the NFL, it's going to be a challenge. And yet, that's what you want. I mean, if you're a playoff team, it's not win one and you're in. It's we're winning from here on out.
Right.
And that mentality shift has to happen. It's tough for a young team to realize that. But the pressure is actually going to be on the field when they feel the physicality of the hits, because the Bengals are playing to stay alive in the mathematical playoff chase. So it's going to be intense. They can do it. But will they be willing to execute for 4 quarters? That's the big question.
So let's do some keys to victory. Offensively, what does this Broncos team have to do on Saturday to walk away with a playoff spot?
Run the football to keep the ball away from the Bengals. You do not want Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow to have multiple opportunities to score. And then you got to take care of the football. You don't want to give them on the heels of a touchdown or heels of a field goal. You don't want to put your defense back out there. And then defensively, you got to get to Joe Burrow with your 4 down linemen. Nick Bonito, you want to make another $20 million? Go get 2 sacks against Joe Burrow and help the Broncos win. It's going to be a big payday for him. Big game for Zach Allen. Those 2 could play a big role.
After the game in L.A., quite a few players said it was a good wake-up call. And I always wonder, when a player says it's a wake-up call, how does one internalize that? And how quickly can you turn a wake-up call into success?
It means I made choices not to be as detail-oriented in my recovery and my preparation and my studying, and I thought I was good. And I wasn't. And we all have those moments in life when you're like, oh, I've done this before. I can do it again. And you get there like, oh, man, maybe I should have prepared. So the tendency, especially when you're getting paid a lot of money, is to say, hey, I'm getting paid because I know what I'm doing. But it's the details that matter, and that's the difference. Champions are willing for 27 weeks to pay attention to the details and execute. And the Broncos found that out just this past Thursday against the Chargers.
I think it's kind of nail-biting time in Broncos country, but when you take a step back, regardless of what happens the next 2 weeks, well, actually, let me rephrase that. You feel like going into this season has certainly been a success.
Yes.
Do the last 2 weeks of the season, whatever happens, will that change your opinion of whether or not this was a successful season?
It will, because let's be clear, the goal at the Broncos is to win a Super Bowl. It's not enough to go to the playoffs here.
Sure.
And a lot of teams across the NFL, it's good to go to the playoffs. Not here. We have higher expectations. The organization provides those higher expectations in the way they take care of the players, the way they get the coaches and players to succeed in here. So if you don't win a championship, you had an unsuccessful season. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I think the way to win is to win it all.
I don't know. When I look at that big old beautiful shiny thing, I'd say I think you're right. Ryan, such a treat as always to have your insight, and you're like the busiest man in broadcasting. Thank you for taking the time.
Great to be here. Go Broncos.
We appreciate you guys so much, and thank you for logging on. We will see you next time.